I'm here all the way from San Diego, and I'm going to talk to you about a subject that I'm sure none of you care about, and that would make me feel bad, but then I just recently learned that I have the evil guy thing, so I don't really care. I like to call it how to get your curve on. We all got our first experience with cycles, probably, most of us, on something like this. I know I did. They're great for terrorizing the neighborhood when you're 4, but they don't really teach you much about getting around corners because they're stable. They're multi-track vehicles. Then we graduated to something that looked like this. Mine was red. It didn't have gears though, but it was cool. And we learned that getting around corners wasn't quite the same. With the tricycle, you could just turn left and the thing would go left. You get on a bicycle, you turn left and you fall over. So we learned the lessons, lots of skin knees and elbows, that these things were different. But eventually we got the hang of it. And we said, I know how this stuff works. Okay. I know how this stuff works. I understand these two-wheel vehicles. There's no problem. And then we turned on the TV and we saw somebody doing this. This happens to be Miguel Duhamel, a local Quebec motorcyclist from a long chain of Quebec motorcycle riders. He's the last, I think. He's the youngest of them. And this is him on his AMA superbike doing, I don't know how many miles an hour at, I don't remember the time. But it looks like magic. I mean, he's dragging his knees on the ground, he's dragging parts of the bike on the ground, and it looks like it's impossible, but as our friend Arthur C. Clarke told us, if you understand the technology, what looks like magic really isn't. So let's dig into a little bit and try and understand some of the physics of it. Anybody that has talked to me or had the misfortune of asking me to talk about motorcycles at dinner or something understands I could talk about this all day. And I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to limit it to these just 4 things that seem interesting and maybe a bit counterintuitive. On a motorcycle, you have to turn right if you want to go left. You've done it on a bicycle without even realizing it. Motorcycles have to lean to turn. Higher corner speeds can actually increase your traction, which seems a bit counterintuitive. And hanging off isn't just to look cool, even though it does look cool. So how do you initiate a turn? Most of us don't realize we did this, but a motorcycle going around a corner has to lean into the corner. To get it to start to lean, if I want it to go left, my left, you guys are backwards, I actually have to turn right. The reason that works, or the reason you need to do that, is by turning right, you're essentially putting forces on the wheels that pull the wheels out from under you to the right, which causes the bike to lean left. This is some footage that shows somebody doing it. There's actually this thing over his head and a camera showing the slight turn. It's just that slight. But once you get that going, the bike starts to lean and then you can start to turn right again. And from that point, the forces continue to pull you around. Bet you didn't know you were doing that when you were turning ditches. So now you're in the corner and you start to lean, and this is when you need your math. So you all have paper on the table. I assume you brought your calculators. Alistair probably told you ahead of time there's going to be some, no?
Oh, iPhones these days.
Oh, iPhones, there you go. I still use an HP calculator. This is the first equation we're going to deal with. This is based on some research that I did. I don't know if you know my degrees in physics. I've done personal research, and well, it's probably easy to read this way. If you turn either right or left without leaning, you will crash. So why is that? We've all taken a weight or a stick or something and put it on a string and spun it around. The string breaks, it goes flying off. Well, if you think about a motorcycle, it's got some height. That force is being applied not at the ground. The wheels are still on the ground. That force is pushing to the outside. If you try to go around a corner that way, you fall over. It's as simple as that. So what you want to do is lean the motorcycle into the turn to give it a chance to fight back. This is what some of the forces look like. Essentially, you're taking the force being pushed this way, translating it diagonally into one little tiny patch on the ground. And that's the only thing that keeps you from sliding. We're going to take a closer look at this part. This is this. And use it to calculate the lean angle. How far over do you have to lean? The faster you go, the farther over. So, any math majors? No? The angle of lean is the arc you're going through. Simply put, 33 foot, 10 meters radius, about 33 feet. If you're going at various speeds, you only have to be doing 30 miles an hour, and you have to lean over at 61 degrees. So that's a pretty sharp lean angle. This is what it looks like. That's about 60 degrees. So there's some reasons that you might not want to. To lean most motorcycles over 60 degrees, foot pegs are dragging on the ground. Your boots are dragging on the ground. You'll see later other parts drag on the ground. So you've got every reason to reduce the lean angle that you need. So how would you do that? Change some of the variables of our equation. One thing you can do is increase the radius of the turn. One way is to completely miss the corner and drive off the road. You won't have to lean over as far. You may still crash, but you won't have to lean over as far. What's more practical is to go way to the outside of the corner, cut close to the middle, and go to the outside of the corner again. You can see that increases the radius of the turn. If R gets bigger, theta gets smaller. You don't have to lean over so far. Or you can go through the same corner at the same lean angle, going faster. The other thing you can do is hang off the bike. If you hang off the motorcycle, you lower the center of gravity and move it to the inside, which increases the effective lean angle of the motorcycle, so you don't have to bring the bike over quite so far, and you still get through the corner. The other thing is that it looks cool, but you don't do it the way this diagram, I don't know where this diagram came from, but if you were on a track and leaned over this way, you'd be laughed off the track. You have to do it and look cool at the same time. But that was just lean angle. There's other things involved, and one of them is the tires. The most important one is probably the tires. If you've looked, this is a tire that was on a track probably for one session. They only last about, depending on how much money you have, they only last about a race, and the tires are gone. On the street, they last about 2,000 miles. The tires are shot. That's because they're as soft as those. Remember in school you had those little pink erasers? And you'd erase your pencil marks and there'd be little rubber all over the place? That's what performance tires are like. They're really, really soft. And besides being soft, they change their shape. So the fact that the component that they drive is friction here, which is pushing back against the tire. And they're shaped such that when you're standing up, the amount of rubber touching the ground is small because you don't need much. But when you curve over, the contact patch actually increases, giving you more grip. Beyond that, the faster you go into a corner, the more force there is on the tire. Think about a balloon. If you take a balloon and push it against a flat surface, it squishes out, right? More of it is touching the table. The contact patch increases. So you can actually get more traction in the corner by entering the corner harder. Completely counterintuitive, but it works. It increases the contact patch, gives a big fat footprint. If you're getting it right, it can look like mechanical ballet. This is Laguna Seca. Some people have seen Laguna Seca. It looks like these people are dancing on the road. Things are dragging on the ground. It looks like magic. But we know the physics, so we know there's no magic in it, right? We've seen some of them out. You want to see what it looks like when you get it wrong?
Been there.
If any of those variables come out of whack too far, things go seriously wrong, and physics has a way of punishing you violently. Typically what it does, it will throw you off the top side of the bike at really high speeds, leaving you to land wherever you happen to land. He didn't do very well that day. So while it might look like magic, we understand the physics. We know it isn't magic. But still, guys can do this. This makes no sense to me. How can he possibly be spinning the rear tire, going around the corner, dragging his knee, and giving the cameras a thumbs up, just for fun? Ruben's house. That's a stock street bike. This is 9-time world champion Valentino Rossi at Catalunya, Spain, dragging not only his knees, but his elbows. And he does this lap after lap after lap. And he doesn't die. I don't know. And last, I just threw this in. This is really old school. This is on the old 500cc days. This is Kevin Schwantz, guy from Texas, riding a 500cc two-stroke. These bikes will kill you if you do anything wrong. And what he's doing shouldn't be possible. If you look at the angle of the bike, you can see the tire is skidding here. He's completely leaned over on the ground, dragging his entire shin. probably chasing Wayne Rainey, who was his nemesis of the day.